All right. I think it finally let us go live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another SPFBO or SPFBO live chat. I'm back with some more of the Fantasy Book Critic blogs assigned authors for SPFBO this year. I've got Ben Green, I've got Emma L. Adams on, and of course, I'm Katherine. You guys are in Fantasy Book Critic with me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So many good books in all the blogs, really, but really when I saw which blog I was in and I saw everybody's names, I was like, whoa,
it's intimidating.
It is, yeah.
It's been really exciting though. Like Emma and I were talking before you hopped on, Ben, about how SPFBO's really been a great way to connect with what's going on in the indie author community and other authors, because I never would have found Emma without SPFBO. Like all these other people I've been chatting with, I was like, wow, and I'm meeting you, and I'm meeting you, and I'm meeting you. So for those who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what book you're putting into the self-published fantasy blog off this year, and what kind of fantasy it is. Hey.
I'll go first. I'm Emma. I write weird fantasy books, basically all subgenres. I kind of hop around a bit, but everything I write is some flavor of fantasy. And the one that I'm entering in SPFBO this year is Death's Disciple. It's kind of dark epic fantasy. So I'm kind of in the epic fantasy kind of area at the moment, like Secondary World, with giant war dragons and murder and undead monsters, all that kind of fun stuff. So I seem to do something slightly different for each series that I write. So yeah, this is an interesting one.
And congrats on your cover being one of the ones that the blog picked for their nominations.
Yeah, I mean, I love this cover. But yeah, I was kind of surprised because I saw like some of the others were like full like illustrated covers, and I was like, they're amazing. That is one of so. But even the covers and everything, just the level of quality it's intimidating.
It really is, yes.
Your book looks fantastic though. I was reading the description. I'm like, there's 300 of these. I wish I could like just pause time and read all of them. I kind of like want to know what people are writing, but I saw your description looks really cool, and your other works look fantastic as well. So I like the idea that you're that you primarily write fantasy, but it's always a different subgenre. I feel like I'm going to be there really soon. And I wrote one series, and now I'm on to the next series. I'm like, oh no, this is a totally different genre.
Fantasy genres are like Lay's potato chips. You can't just have one.
Yeah, no. You need all the genres. Bring them all.
I mean, I started in YA fantasy, and then I went to urban fantasy, spent a few years there, and now I'm in my like epic Secondary World fantasy phase, and I don't know, maybe I'll end up in sci-fi fantasy next.
Nice.
And Ben, your book's cover made it into the fantasy cover.
I was super excited about that. I know that my cover is kind of like off genre. It doesn't look epic fantasy. It's definitely a YA cover. It looks I write modern. I call them modern fantasy. Because it's not really urban fantasy. That's definitely a different kind of thing. It's young adult modern fantasy. It's epic. I neglected to grab a book. I have a stack over there, but it seems kind of like weird to go get it. I can grab this poster here real quick. My mom framed this for me. Of course,
that's a proud mom right there.
Yeah. So let's see if I can line this up. That's the cover, which I just love. Like all three of my covers are kind of like a neon dark look. They're underground. There's nuclear magic. It's like basically there you go. Thanks. That's a much brighter copy of it.
There's Emma's there on the right.
And the paper. Oh yeah.
So we've had all three of these authors now, and then there's Ben's. I love the city and like in the person in yours.
Yeah, no, between me and my artist, she did all the work. I had some of the concepts, but wow, she just really nailed it out of the park and loved it. So yeah, I was surprised because my cover does not, it's like it's like the Sesame Street game when you line up all the things and one of them is not like the other. That's really my cover a lot of times. So sometimes I don't feel like I fit exactly in fantasy, but definitely all the fantasy vibes and dungeons and modern day dwarfs and cool magic. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and then I'm sort of like in between you guys. I'm like this sort of epic fantasy with mine in the contest. It's The Vow That Twisted Fate, which is my debut. And yeah, I can't believe it's already been out almost 2 years. But mine's got the dwarves and elves and stuff, but it's actually sort of reversed. In the prologue, it opens up with how the world was 500 years before the main character's story. And it was cars and skyscrapers and like all of our stuff, but with fantasy races there. And then the rest of the book is like the earth has reclaimed a lot of those cities and everything, and it's sort of gone backwards into like a medieval setup.
Love it.
Yeah. And for those who are watching, if you do not already follow Mark Lawrence coordinates SPFBO every year. He does it for free for authors. Thank you, Mark, for doing this. It's a lot of work. Mark assigns the 300 books to 10 blogs. And so each blog gets 30, and then they choose finalists and then a winner among those groups. But you can follow Mark here to see all the cover contests and the regular blog updates and see who makes it this year. His link's in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, you'll have to go type it in, or you can find Mark Lawrence on Twitter. Just remember there's 2 underscores in Mark's name. Oh goodness, how many years have you guys done SPFBO? Is this your first year, multiple years?
It's my second time. So I did it last year. I feel like this year, last year, it filled up in 9 hours or something last year. So it was still fast compared to previous years, because I was aware of the contest before then, and I think I kind of started following it partway through the year before that I entered. And then I entered last year and got cut in the first round, 95% or whatever of the entries. So, and then this year, I did the same thing, except it filled up in 41 minutes.
Yeah. This is my first one. I've seen it for a couple of years. I kind of have waited until my first trilogy is out. And so now it's out and accumulated some ratings on Goodreads and Amazon and other places. So it's like, okay, I'm going to enter book 1 and see how it does, which I'm pretty excited for. But yeah, that 41 minutes, I actually I submitted mine and I was like, I don't know if I got it. I was really right there. And then they were like, the competition is full. I was like, oh no. So I went to check my email. I was like, what's the timestamp? Because they said they filled in 41 minutes. And I looked at my email. It said 41 minutes. It said exactly 8:41 or whatever it is in my time zone. I was like, I was the last one or just one of the last ones. They probably had 5 submissions a minute, but I was like, I got in there. So I'm happy about that. I was on the same minute that they closed.
Wow. I saw your Facebook post that day, Ben, and I was like,
I looked right at the timestamp because I was so curious.
I didn't even think to check, but I was submitting mine literally. I was one of those people sitting there refreshing as soon as it started and then sent it in. But I was like, yeah, I bet there's a lot of other people doing the same things. So I'm not going to be one of the first ones in. Whoever types the fastest, whoever has the fastest internet, I don't know.
Yeah, I was literally it opened during my commute to work, right? So it's okay, it's open. I'm
pull over.
that was the move right there, but I didn't. I was got to work, got the Wi-Fi. I was I had all my files and cover and everything ready to go, and then I submitted it right then. But I was I don't know if I got it. Checks
Next
the email.
Year, Ben's sorry, boss, I'm taking the morning off. See you guys at lunch.
I literally saw someone in the comments that I took off a whole day of work for this. I was I hope you got in legitimately. I feel so bad. So next year it's going to be we filled up in 35 seconds.
I'm concerned because next year I'm probably not going to be able to enter. I won't have a new series for another 2 or 3 years, and I don't even want to think about how fast it'll close in 3 years. 4 seconds.
They're like, done. We got it, guys. It was like, that's it. It's going to be fast. I wonder how it'll change over the years, but they're doing a great job, keeping up, and, the competition has changed, I'm sure, over multiple years. But it's really cool to see. And I'm like following it now, like March Madness, probably because mine's in it. I should have been doing it in previous years because it's just fun. It's just a whole lot of fun to like see these other books. And I wish I could read a book in 2 hours and like, I would just read them all.
That's the problem. I'm like, I've already added like so many books to my reading list, and I'm already like, God, I have not had time to read any of them yet. And of course, like last year I did the same thing, and I'm pretty sure I never actually got around to reading any of them. So I've got last year's all on my list, and now I've got this year's.
You mean your book
committed.
Mountain?
Yeah, that TBR.
Like the state of my Kindle, like and my Goodreads list, it's a bit out of hand, and I'm like, but now I don't know where to prioritize because I want to read this year's, but I still haven't read last year's, and
you're gonna stagger one from this year, one from last year, one from this year, one from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching and you're like, what in the world are these people talking about getting up and getting in? SPFBO's first come, first serve. So it's the first 300 people. And then they had some stretch where they took some extras in case people's books were like, they're not the right genre. They'd been in SPFBO before or something like that. And then they plug those people in. So if you are planning on doing this next year for the first time, take a little advice from the newbies. And in Ben's case, pull over and submit the thing.
Just in rural Minnesota, right by a cornfield. That's where it would have been. I would have into a ditch, furiously on my phone, getting it submitted.
I got up at the crack of dawn on YouTube, and with Andrew D. Meredith and them, they did the launch party, and I tuned into that.
Oh, cool.
And Andrew was like, have all your tabs open. Have a tab with your Goodreads link. Have a tab with your Amazon link. Have a tab with, your other stuff that you need, and like ebooks. And the form was posted in advance for people who are curious. I think Mark might do that again next year. Maybe it was really helpful.
That was
but yeah, I had all my tabs open, and they opened, and I was like, okay, copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste.
I keep a big what I call the metadata file, and I just have every single link on the single file. It's nice. It's helpful.
Yeah, I've got all my blurbs and stuff like stored in like a Notion, which is where I keep all of my stuff. So I was like, got to get that one open with like the Goodreads link and the blurb. And although I didn't have pre-order links, I don't think, except for my website, because mine isn't actually out yet. And that's
yeah, I was going to say congratulations 2 days from now, right?
Yes, it's out. Well, that's the retail release.
Okay.
I mean, basically, I launched it on Kickstarter first. So I wanted to wait until I'd sent out all the Kickstarter books before I did the public launch. But I also needed to get it in before the SPFBO deadline. So it's been this kind of coordinated chaos. So the retail launch is Tuesday. So yeah, just before the deadline. But it has been done for a while. So I had the files and everything. Cool. It's just that I was like, great, I really should have had a pre-order link because I didn't anticipate the level of interest like on Twitter and stuff. And I was like, I've got the Goodreads link, but I wished I'd had the book out, like, and to give to people who were interested. I had like my review team open, still do technically, but I didn't, have the actual book out because, I mean, last year there was interest, but I feel like this year it's intensified.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I had just taken Val off of KU 2 days before because it's always been wide. And I was like, for 1 3-month stretch, I'm going to take it down from wide. I'm going to let it be KU for everybody. I didn't think about corresponding that to SPFBO because I've only ever done other contests. And when you do the other contest, you put your book in and then it's like, oh, well, you don't hear anything till the end of the contest. So no big deal. So I took it down and I still had it full price and I was getting ready to launch it back wide and I was getting everything together. And on the launch day, I was like, I wish that I had either left it on KU or had it down to 99 cents on the launch day for SPFBO so that more readers could have more easily accessed it. So now it's wide and now it's 99 cents. But I was just going, oh.
Nice.
Yeah. Things to not do that I did for SPFBO this year. But yeah, so we've been doing this fun thing on the panels where we're asking different questions about our characters, and our books. And we've talked about villains, we talked about main characters, we talked about side characters. My question for you guys is to talk a little bit about the world that you have built for your book, and especially what is at stake for the world if the main character wins or loses. Is your book one of those books where the world's going to be destroyed if they lose, something like that?
So, my book starts in the middle of not the middle, the end, the decline of like this dwarven race under the Rockies. There were there was like 50 cities under there, artificial suns, cool sky rises. And over 300 years, they have systematically eliminated city after city, like with nuclear magic. And so there's these cool places filled with like nuclear magic fallout. So, you take a simple, like some kind of simple magical object, say something like plant magic, and then you slap this nuclear magic thing to it, and it just destroys a whole city with plant life, right? And so they've done that all over, all under the mountain, all under the like these highest peaks in the Rockies, about 50 of them. Which I do have a map for, but I don't ever. I have it for myself. It's not published, but they're down to 2 cities by the start of my book. There's one city that's like a monarchy, and one city that's like a radical hyper surveillance democracy, direct democracy. And so these 2 cities are always at odds, and the nuclear material has since like been lost or like moved. And my main character's father knows the secrets, where it's at, and where it's been hiding but he's been hiding on the surface in the Appalachians with his son, who doesn't know he's Loman, my dwarfs. And so they find him though, and now his dad's on the run. He's trying to like hide out, but he looks very much like his dad, who was like a young king.
No.
And so he's got to wear these. He has a couple magical disguises and stuff, but eventually it just, you can tell it's like somebody's gonna figure this out. So that's kind of like where it is. So as far as stakes, yes, there's high stakes that this society is not gonna fare well, or this civilization is gonna fail. But also the stakes are like, where's his dad? How can you help him? Like, he always thought his dad was sick, but it was just because he was living on the surface. And all these kind of things. His mom has magically forgotten him. She can look right at him and not understand that he's there. And so what is with that? And so there's some personal family stakes. So his mom gets like thrown in this high-tech prison. His dad's on the run, and he's trying to just hide out and keep his head low. But at the same time, he's like, I need to help them. I need to like understand who my parents are. And now that I know my mom wasn't just like complete like negligent, she was magically forgotten me. Now I want answers, and I want to help. And so he's like kind of a protective magic, kind of empathetic character, which I love. I love to include that in my books, especially for young men. And so that's it in a nutshell, and that hopefully answers the questions about stakes. That was a long way around it, but
yeah. Wow. I love the fact that it's like in our world, but it's also a fantasy version of our world.
Right. Yeah.
As someone who's been to the Rockies several times, I'm like, ooh.
It was weird. I drove over to Las Vegas on vacation from Minnesota, and I was like, I saw some of the peaks that I know that there's, these Loman cities under, and I'm like, is it under there? You just like, I literally thought, I was like, it could be under there.
You're like, pit stop. Detour.
Yeah, I can't dig 7 miles underneath Pikes Peak and see if there's.
Oh, so Emma, how about your world?
So I was trying to think about how to mention stakes without spoilers, but
right?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of, there's like almost a mystery in the background of what's actually going on. So the country that my book is set in, it's called Laria, and it's basically the continent was kind of basically covered in like jungle for a long time, and was kind of like settled by humans, and then their magic users essentially built their civilization almost. So there's like different, the magic users are basically divided into like, they're kind of elemental, but based on like which deity they worship. That's how they get their power, like directly from their gods. So there's the disciples, they're called. So the disciples of the sky, they can basically fly, which is very cool.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was yeah, I was like, I want to. So they're like home. Their temple is basically this like giant stone tower that's built in the mountains and that nobody else can get into because only they can fly. And so yeah, that's probably the coolest place I've got in that series, I think. But then there are also the disciples are kind of like an independent sort of thing, so they're not really involved in like the nation itself. Like up until fairly recently, before the series starts, there was a war going on with like their rival neighbors and the king's army. My main character was in the king's army, and she was the head of her like flight unit, and they basically fly on the back of giant war dragons. But her squad was basically involved in this mission that went horribly wrong, like right at the end of the war. And the war ended because the king was then assassinated, and nobody knows what really happened. But she and her squad are the only people who were on this mission who basically saw something that they were not supposed to see, like that only the king knew about, but then he was assassinated, so nobody else. So there's kind of this political intrigue thing going on, and the fact that my characters got drawn into this situation by accident, and now they know something that isn't publicly available. They know that there's a dangerous thing, and now, like several years later, the flight division shut down. They left the army, but now somebody who seems to know some of this is hunting them down one at a time. And my main character is basically drawn back into it because she wants to prevent the survivors from getting picked off by assassins who either want information that they know or want it to avoid going public, basically. So it involves dark magic, basically. So to be vague spoilers. So the stakes are basically their lives, but also the secret that they know has the potential to have pretty nasty side effects for like the whole nation and everyone else. And the disciples are drawn into it, and yeah, it's high stakes, and it keeps getting better. But it's absolutely good stuff for the sequels.
Yes, I totally agree. These both sound amazing. Yes,
I'm not very good at explaining my own books in a straightforward way. So.
That's completely fair.
Yes, it is. I mean, we wouldn't have spent 100,000 words writing these books. It was something that was super easy to tie up in like 2 minutes. Like, boom, here we go. The hardest part for me writing a book is the blurb. Definitely,
it really is.
Tell me in 200 words what your book's about.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when somebody asked me, my brain cycles through the 17 versions, the 100 versions of the blurb. I'm like, well, should I, do I talk about this nuclear material? Do I talk about his family drama that's going on? Do I what is the focus? And I know what the stakes are. It's family and society. And I get those. But when you ask about a book, you ask an author about a book, you're just asking for it. You're going to be there for a good 30 minutes. So sit down. While they cycle through every blurb they've ever written to tell you what their book is about.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure the blurb went through more drafts than the book did.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Completely.
Admittedly, it's shorter, but still, just knowing where to put the focus on. I've technically got 3 main characters, and I'm like, yeah, no, I've just written about the one main character. I think I'm going to keep the focus there because otherwise it'll end up 3 times as long.
Yeah. If you're watching and you want to read these books, the links to both of the books are in the description box, so you can pick it up there. Very excited to read both the books. I am trying to read all the SPFBO books that I have not already written. I was telling the people in the read. I only wrote one of them. I've not already read. I was saying in the last blog that I think the total count came down to like 220 something I had not read. Because because I'm just sort of obsessed with indie
Oh,
books.
nice. That's
So I
pretty
was
good,
like,
though. That's
I
80
want to
books.
get it by this time next year. I'd like to have read the ones I haven't read yet.
Man, good for you. That's so many. I was thinking that I will read. So we're in the let's see, Fantasy Book Critic group.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking when each of the bloggers there pass one on to the, because I think there's are in our area, they're separated into like groups of maybe 5 or 6.
yeah.
I'm gonna try to read. So if mine goes on, well, I guess whether mine goes on or not, I should be trying to read the best. But I want to read like kind of like almost like semi-finalists, because I can't commit to the 300. But I will
Oh, yeah.
definitely, if they pick, you know, one out of the 6 that they're reading, I want to read that one. And then I
Mhm.
definitely want to read the finalists for the whole the whole competition. I think that's a great way to go about it, because they've been vetted. You know that this is going to be a great story no matter what, and I'm
Mhm.
sure everything's good, but you're going to get the best of the best. So it should be pretty fun. I'm excited to kind of just follow along this time, or because I just didn't do it last time. So
Mm. And Emma was talking before we went live about the discussion about whether to do this year's or last year's.
I still haven't read last year's finalists. I think like last year at the start of the contest, I was overly optimistic about, yep, sure, I'll definitely get to them by the end of the a year later, and no. So maybe I'll alternate between years, and I've got other books probably from previous years that I've also not read. So
That's okay. You know, I feel like I genuinely try to do my best, but I do have a day job and then I write. I know a lot of us indies are like that. We have day jobs, we write on the side, and then occasionally we get to read for fun.
Yep, that's about right.
Yes. So, how SPFBO works for our specific blog, the Fantasy Book Critic, and if you're watching and you want to follow the blogs and see which books go forward, I put Fantasy Book Critic's link in the description box too. But they've divided their allotted 30 books among, I think, was it 5 or was it 6 reviewers that each took a
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
5. Okay. So I
Well,
know I'm
each
in
with 6
Esme
books.
Rosalind's group of 6.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, hey, you two are, oh no, you guys are competitive.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, you know, as long as we're in different groups, we can all still be friends. But
We have
you
multiple
know,
enemies
so
now.
on my part, you know, I'm really, I wish you both luck. But between you, I can mute, and between the two of you, you can. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what I love about this is that this has been such a community building experience. I have not felt in any way like, oh, we're against you. Like, it's genuinely felt like I finally found my people.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I
so I'm
just
going to
hope
be
they like all
ecstatic
of
for
our books,
whoever
really.
goes forward.
You know, I mean, there can only be one like winner, but as long as they like my book, I can live with.
Yeah, you know what's great about this one is like it looks like they're gonna, for the most part, try to review as many as they possibly can and say something about them, which is great. You know, it's a huge blog. They have a following, and it's just a lot of fun to see. You know, everybody being promoted, everybody getting some time, and like being able to see what everyone's books are about and what people love about them. So it's fun. There's 300 books that are really getting kind of like a fair look from awesome reviewers from the fantasy book critics, and so it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Esme, I know, is in one of the Discord groups I'm in, and pinged me. It's like, oh, this is the book I'm reading right now. And I was like, oh, get help. We'll see what she actually thinks of it at the end, because all of the blogs, you know, every blogger is different. They have different books that they like and different books that they, you know, really are looking for, I guess. Like I've heard some of them on YouTube talking about covers they don't like or tropes they don't like. And so it's good to know that the reviews are subjective, but the bloggers are open about that and really great about it. And so, yeah, it's a lot to take on, even 6 books for a contest like this. So much appreciated to any of the bloggers who might happen to stumble across this sometime.
I'm trying to minimize my stalking of the critic, who's a little group I'm in. I'm like, who's a second grade teacher? I want to know, like, I really want to know this person's preferences. But
I'm glad
at
that
the end
you
of the day, it's
mentioned
really
that.
just
Yeah.
cool. So
I was going to ask what y'all are going to be doing over the next 5 months for round one. Are you going to be writing, editing, lurking? What was it? The term we
I'm
used on the
working on my
first one,
sequel.
productive lurking, where it's like a
productive
little
lurking.
lurking, but also writing.
Lurking,
Oh.
editing. I'm editing my sequel right now, and it is very distracting.
It is distracting. It is distracting. I am a school teacher by day, so I'm Wednesday was my last day, and so now I'm like, all right, 100% focus on writing. But I have so many writing tasks that piled up that are not writing that I'm like spending all my time just kind of cleaning up and getting ready for my summer. But I've picked about 20 writing days, where that day is specifically for writing, not writing business, not anything else, just writing, because I'm starting a new space fantasy series. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
I love science fantasy so
yeah,
much.
it's I really love the concept, and more than that, I really love the characters. These characters I've spent more time crafting than last time. I really invested a lot of time in world building. This time I've spent a lot of time thinking about these characters, taking personality quizzes for them, like doing all those kind of things that you do to really get in the mind space of this character. And so this one, my book that I submitted, Forge in the Fallout, is a first person, present tense, young male protagonist who's emotionally available and like a good friend and all the like positive things, not the overpowered jerk boy trope, so I'm really excited though to have like more viewpoints to tell a story for my next project, and because it was always like, oh, it'd be cool to see what was going on with his sister or what, so I'm excited to have a little more freedom to mess with point of view in this next series. But yeah, that's my plans, at least for summer, and then school will be back and I'll be swamped again. But for summer, I have 20 days on the calendar where I can write as much as possible those days. So no pressure, right?
And thanks, other Ben Spencer will be coming on tomorrow on one of the panels. So good luck to you too. 2 teachers, both named Ben.
Nice. I'll have to connect.
Yes. How about you, Emma? What does the next 5 months look like for you?
So I'm working on the second book in the series. It started out planned as a trilogy. I think it's going to be 4 books now. So hopefully it won't expand even more than that. So that's where we are at the moment. I've just finished like the draft of the second book, but I started editing it and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to distract me too much. And slow to a crawl because I'm on Twitter.
All the distractions.
Hopefully, like once like the initial buzz and stuff is like kind of, because I don't remember. I mean, I don't know. I think it probably was this distracting last year. I just forgot about it because gradually it's a lot of waiting, after the point where everyone's buzzing about it. It's like when it first kicks off. So hopefully I'll be able to actually focus on this thing at some point and then just work on the other books in the series.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, and good luck to you too. Mike is another author. Mike, you've got a panel coming up too. Excited to get to chat with you tomorrow, I think. I've got so many author panels. Speaking of which, if you're wanting to see the other author panels, the replays of the ones that are done are on my YouTube channel in a special Indie Author Live Chat playlist. And if you're wanting to catch the new ones, subscribe because I still have, I want to say it's like 10 of these left over the next couple weeks. Yeah, I'm sort of the opposite of you, Ben. I work as an editor for a day job, is what I was sharing before we went live. And May is not May. June is my biggest month of the summer, and then we get another one a little later in the year. So I will probably be doing nothing but editing for other people in June.
Yeah.
And then like halfway into July, I can probably breathe and get back into my own writing in July and August and just be doing like some Fiverr gigs on the side to recover.
Yeah, I have a lot of I have a lot of author friends who are stay-at-home moms, you know, and they're like the reverse of me. They're like, "Oh no, my kids are coming home for the summer," and I'm like, "Summer! I can finally write again." And we're just like ships in the night where I'm like, "See ya, I'm gonna go write," and they're like, dealing with a toddler or something, you know.
You're like, I'll do this for you so that you can write in the fall.
Yeah.
It'll
I
be
juggle
okay.
my kids, but my kids are old enough now. My youngest is 9, but I still had to like
Aw.
make the rounds before this video. I'm like, don't move your feet around the upstairs, you know, like it's just all the things. It's just funny, but they're all old enough. They're just chilling out wherever they are while dad's doing whatever dumb dad thing he does. So, but you know, it's funny to be like all authors are in these different spaces. That's what I love about indie authors. We all have these interesting lives where we all do different things. But we have this thing in common where we just love these fantasy worlds where we geek out about stuff. You know, I get on these panels and I'm like, we're like same people, like we experience these same things, we all commiserate together, and it's just a beautiful thing about being a fantasy writer, you know, so we can all geek out together. And I
Yes.
really love these kind of things and I've been on a couple of times with you, Catherine. You're doing great work, and it's just so fun you know, doing these. So
Well, thank you for coming back. I
yeah,
didn't scare you away the last time.
nah.
And thank you, Emma, for joining, and everybody for tuning in. I know it's Sunday, it's a Sunday afternoon, and it's a pretty day here. I don't know where you guys are, but
Yeah, it's been sunny. Well, it's later, but it's like 8 o'clock. But it's been nice, which makes a change.
yeah. Well, good luck to everybody, both the authors who I've seen your names pop up. And if you commented and I missed that you were a SPFBO author, I am so sorry. Feel free to Facebook message me and we can try to get you on a panel too. But seriously, thank you all for tuning in, for the readers supporting this, for the bloggers reading and reviewing, and for Mark for coordinating. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.